Today I'm going to show you how to add rhinestones to a tumbler using the scatter method. This tumbler turns out so beautiful. I am so excited to show you guys, so let's get started. Today we are working on a 32-ounce travel mug from the Still Magnolia. These are absolutely my favorite tumblers, so go grab yourself some and use that discount code I linked for you down in the description. We are just going to start off by grabbing a sanding block and really giving that handle a good sand. Now grab a paintbrush and some sort of paint. I like Miss Lillian's chalk paint, and I am using this color, which is called Chloe Moon. And we are just going to base coat our handle until you have it fully coated. Once you get that all coated evenly, we are going to let that paint dry completely and then take some sort of tape. I like to use electrical tape, and we're just going to tape the base around the handle. Now I have mixed up some epoxy, and I'm just going to take a popsicle stick and spread a little bit of it on, and then I'm going to just even it out with my finger, making sure it's evenly coated. Then I am going to take it over to my turner and put the tumbler on, and then remove that electrical tape that we put on, and then let that tumbler spin until the handle is completely cured. Now I am going to tape off the top and bottom rim of my tumbler. This time I am using painter's tape. And then once I get the top and bottom rim taped off, I'm just going to kind of fold the excess around the top and bottom. And then I am taking my cup edging tool and I'm putting it on the lowest setting I can, at least on mine. Your guys's might be different. And then I am just going to take and trim off the excess. Now that both of those pieces of tape have been cut with your cup edging tool, you're going to keep the tape around the rims and remove the excess from the top, if that makes sense. And then we are going to take our 80 grit sanding block and give the rest of our tumbler a really good sand. And then I am going to take that Chloe Moon paint again and base coat my tumbler. Once your tumbler is all coated, remove that tape around the top and bottom rim, and then you will have something that ended up looking like this when it's all dry. And then we are going to move on to adding our rhinestones around the top. Today I am using Bob Smith's 15-minute epoxy. Most people use the 30-minute. I bought this for a project for my son, so I decided to use it first, but it does stink. It smells like dead fish. I think I'll buy the 30-minute next time. But if you are a beginner, I do highly recommend the Liquid Fusion. It is still a really good glue. Just the epoxy is a little bit more of a learning curve. So I am going to take a little dab of my Bob Smith epoxy in the A and B, and then I am going to take a silicone brush. I just got these on Amazon. Anything silicone works. And I'm going to mix this up really well on a sticky note. You want to make sure that those two parts are mixed together really, really well. And then we are going to move on to our rhinestones. Today I am using this gorgeous mix from Diamond Fire Rhinestones. This is the transparent AB mix, and they come with all different sorts of sizes already mixed for you. And then this wax picker up tool I get from Amazon. It's my favorite one that I have found. And then I am going to just take my silicone brush and spread a little bit of that epoxy on up by that top rim, picking up one stone at a time in different sizes. We're just going to go around and place that starting row. Anchor row is a lot of people will call it. And then when you have that first row on, make sure that they are all up by that top rim and turn your cup upside down and make sure that all the stones are laying on there evenly. Now that that anchor row is dry, you are ready to move on. I have mixed up more of that Bob Smith epoxy on my little notepad here, and I'm just taking that silicone brush again and spreading on an even layer in small sections. Once again, I did buy the Bob Smith 15 minutes, so I don't have a ton of working time. You could probably do a little bit bigger sections if you have the 30-minute. Picking up one stone at a time, we are doing the scatter method, which is my favorite method of all time. It does take a little bit longer, so if you're not quite as patient, you're going to want to do a honeycomb style. And this way is kind of like picking up different sizes randomly, but fitting them in like a puzzle. So you will see me sometimes pick one up and I think it's going to fit and it's not, so I kind of put it back in my little tray here, and then I will move them around. One thing I will tell you with the epoxy method is they do slip a little bit more in my experience, so just make sure you go back, and if they start slipping down your cup, to hurry and push them up before that epoxy dries. Keep working around your tumbler, placing those rhinestones until we get to the handle, and it is basically the same concept. I have mixed up some fresh epoxy on my little sticky note. Taking my silicone brush, I am spreading it on in a thin, even layer as close as I can to the previous rhinestones. And then what I like to do is I like to actually place my rhinestones around the handle first and work outwards to the rhinestones that we placed previously. Just continue working down your tumbler in small sections. Now, when you get to the curve of the tumbler, it can be a little bit tricky, but don't you worry, it's not that difficult. You just have to make sure that those stones are laying flat on that curve. So if they're not laying flat, your stone is probably a little bit too big. So on the curve, I kind of stuck to the smaller stones in the mix and kind of tried to mix in a few of the bigger ones, but making sure it wasn't like in the bend of the curve, so it really stuck to my tumbler really well. Once you get down around that base, I started working in kind of more small skinny sections, and I would place the rhinestones right there on the line of my paint and then work towards the stones up towards the curve. Once you get all of your stones placed, let that epoxy cure for a few days is what I like to do. And then we will go on to making a glitter butt. I just like to take my 80 grit sanding block and give the base a good sand. And then I'm going to go back and paint just the inner part of the base with that Chloe Moon chalk paint and let that dry completely. Now that your butt is dried completely, we're going to mix up some epoxy, and you are going to find a glitter that matches your rhinestones. I picked up Seductive from my shop, and I have zero regrets. Once I put this on the butt of my tumbler, I was just so in love. So you're going to mix in your glitter with your epoxy. This does not take a lot, so don't overmix like I did. But I put it into a mold, so it wasn't wasted anyways. But you're just going to take some on your stick and place it right there in the center of the butt. And you're going to actually spread it out to the sides. Now you're going to want to start with a little bit, and you can always add more. These glitter butts can be a little bit stressful because if you add too much, it just overflows into all the cracks and crevices, and it doesn't look clean and professional. So I always start with a little bit, and I just take my popsicle stick, pushing it to the side, and then I'll wait a minute, and if it starts separating from where I placed it, you need a little bit more epoxy. And at that point, I will just drop a little bit on from my popsicle stick and let it self-level. But once again, don't add too much. Once you get all of the glitter and epoxy on your butt and it seems to be staying where you placed it, take your torch and pop all of the bubbles on the bottom. And once your glitter booty is all cured, you have just created this absolutely stunning rhinestone tumbler. I am obsessed with those transparent rhinestones. They give off an incredible sparkle, but you get to see that paint color shine through below. You guys just have to go grab these. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please remember to like and subscribe, and look for me on all other social media platforms under Diamonds and Dust.